My role was and the task I was given was very much to try and get the women's team to catch up and to make sure that the standards that are reflected by Sean Dyche and everyone at the club in the lads' side of the game is transferring across into the women's game.
You mentioned Sean Dyche there, and you're hiding it well, but you look like you've got that ginger hair under there that matches the Sean Dyche look. Tell us a little bit about your credentials, Matt. How do you get to be in this situation, managing this team?
Okay, so like I say, I joined the club in October 2016, and before that, my background was working in the academy game with the lads, and also my background in the women's game. I was running the Lincoln University women's team, and I was also involved with the FA Girls Centre of Excellence, so working with the girls as part of the England talent pathway and trying to progress them through into the England training squads. And that was where it started for me with the women's game. So I was, working as a coach there, trying to refine my coaching ability, trying to refine my philosophy. And then when the opportunity came up here, I just felt as though it was a club that was a really good step for me. And I'm proud to be here. I'm proud to be working as hard as I can to try and make sure that we keep developing this club in the best possible way.
Tell us about your journey. How did you get involved? Because you were playing locally for Accrington at one stage, weren't you?
Yeah, I started playing for Accrington and then obviously wanted to play for Burnley because it's a club that I support. So came down to a training session and it was really professional. Thought the standard was really good, so signed on.
Did you command a transfer fee?
No.
Maybe that's to come in years to come. But the likes of Manchester City especially have sort of risen the bar for women's football. Arsenal, Liverpool, all the big clubs now have got the women's teams. Burnley have started at a relatively low standard, but it's been a meteoric rise for the group, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has, and we're just getting better and better, and the group of girls are just so close and everyone just wants to progress with the club.
So Matt, tell me, how important was it for the ladies team to come under the umbrella of Burnley FC in the community? Because without being disrespectful, they were probably drifting a little bit before that happened, but the union seems to have worked really well for everybody.
Yeah, I think before the community department obviously took the club under its wing, I think it was one where it was probably, like you say, it probably was drifting a bit. The players got to wear the badge and the kit, but other than that, the infrastructure certainly needed developing. And I think for it to be in-house now is vital because it underpins our whole female football pathway here. The community department, we're trying to do a lot to support the girls' game locally. And it obviously makes sense that the club, the women's first team, is the top of that infrastructure. So I think for me, all the support of what we can get from that department. Neil Hart, our chief executive, is passionate about the women's game, and his background has been in the women's game previously as well. So he knows what it takes to support a women's team and to get it to the top level. So I think it's really important that we've got that support and that we've got that buy-in from the community department, but also from the club itself as well. I think everyone's
wearing that badge is important, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of our players, we've got a squad where a lot of the players will be at the turf on a Saturday. They want to support the team, they want to see the team do well, and I think if anything, I probably don't need to say too much to some of them players because wearing that badge, they're going to run through a brick wall for this club because it means so much to them. So I think the whole setup really over the last 2 years has bought into this and has really allowed the team to progress. And I think my job is to try and make sure that we keep getting the best from everyone and that we keep supporting it in the best possible way.
So Sarah, great to see you. What's your involvement with the team? How did that come about?
Actually, the captain, Joe Holt, asked me to play. It must have been about 4 or 5 years ago now, and I'd played at a pretty good standard with City Women at the time, and then she asked me to come and help out here. And I wasn't going to play anymore, but I decided I'd come back and try it again, and now I love it, and I wouldn't stop playing for anything.
I suppose if the captain's asking you to play, you're
you're
going to get in the side, don't you?
Well, yeah. Don't know about that, but she's a good friend of mine as well, and obviously I enjoy playing. Like, one of the main things for me is playing with my best friends, and I love it.
Well, Joe, you're the captain of Burnley Ladies.
Indeed I am.
Tell me about your involvement with this team.
My involvement with this team goes back an awful long way. I started playing at Burnley when I was 18 and played at Burnley till I was about 24. And then the team that I was involved in folded, so I moved to a club playing in the National League for 10 years. And then my job got, so I was struggling with the commitment of National League football at the time. Came back to Burnley where all my friends were, so I've probably been back at Burnley for about 7 or 8 years now. It's been lovely to see the growth in the club during that time, from way back when to now.
Tell us a little bit about that, because the change in the club now from what it was back then must be remarkable.
Yeah, I think there's a phenomenal difference, particularly in the last few years. I think with the professionalism of the coaches and the setup that we've got now at the club, I think there's a different mentality amongst the girls as well in terms of their kind of aspirations for the club. You know, we've got young girls that are coming through that really want to play at that top level and get that experience of playing at that level, which is fantastic.
It's fair to say, I guess, that he did start at quite a low bar. You've raised that bar substantially. Promotion immediately almost was a real feather in the cap. The FA Cup run got a bit of kudos and got a bit of publicity for what's been happening here. And now there's a real buzz about the women's team, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you say, it was a pretty, a low level, if you want to call it that, to start with. We had to pick the team up and make sure that, initially my philosophy in line with the clubs was there, and I've not got any problem in admitting that a lot of what Sean Dyche is doing has stuck with me. I was lucky enough to see him talk at a conference in 2013, so before I was even at Burnley, and some of the principles that he said around hard work, the values that he's brought here is something that stuck with me, and that's something that in my first season, that was about getting those values across to the players whilst developing them tactically as well. But then last season was the big one, and like you say, we had a great FA Cup run which was massive in increasing the publicity, because for the women's game, if you're in the lower leagues you don't get as much, certainly on the social media and on the TV, that type of stuff. So the FA Cup run was massive, and it created a real good buzz about the place. And then on top of that, it was about making sure that in the league we got promotion. That was an absolute must, and that was a pressure that I embraced and that I tried to get the players to embrace as well, because we knew we had to get promoted last season. Only one went up out that division, so we had to work as hard as possible, which we all did, and obviously got ourselves into the National League, which it's an exciting time in the women's game with the way the FA have reformed those leagues, and for us to be in the new format of the National League is something that all the players should be proud of. And it's fantastic to see people coming down to watch us at Padium, and hopefully over the next few months in the season more Burnley fans will come down.
And you've got a final message to Burnley fans out there who may not know too much about Burnley Ladies and what you've achieved and what you're about. What would you say to them?
Well, I'm a massive Burnley fan myself. I'm a season ticket holder at Turf Moor, so I know what the men's team means to the people of our town. So it would be really nice if they could take us under their wing and follow our results and come along to some of the games, and hopefully enjoy seeing the young girls of Burnley really expressing themselves and playing at a good level.
I'm sure we all wish you well.
Thank you very much.